Welcome everyone to Tuesday Training. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Fisk, and I am so excited for tonight's little presentation we've got going on because I am interviewing one of my all-time favorite people, my right-hand gal, Jenny, who is my media pitch specialist. So stick around because we are going to talk all about how to find high-quality podcasts to pitch to. So if you've been in the online space for a while, you know that there's so many people starting new podcasts, wanting new people on there. And, frankly, it's pretty easy to get on the new up and coming podcasts. But if you want that next level and get more visibility, then you need Jenny. And I'm going to bring Jenny on now to introduce herself. And we are going to talk all about how to find these high quality podcasts to pitch to. And I want to say right off the top, too, that we're hosting a workshop together next Friday. The link's up above to really set you up for success and get you ready to pitch. So, Jenny, go ahead and introduce yourself and we will get started.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Megan, for having me. First of all, this is so much fun. I'm excited to meet everybody. Hello, everyone. My name is Jenny, and I do podcast pitching for soulpreneurs. I help them be seen, shine their light, and expand their work by connecting them with aligned podcasts that allows them to have further reach so they can share their message and their gifts that I personally find so important for the world right now, especially during these times. I really think people are ready to receive their message. So that's what I do. That's why I'm here.
And you are so incredible at it. I think out of all of the so everyone knows, in full transparency, Jenny pitches me to 20 podcasts a month, and she does so for my one-on-one clients too. And you have such a high percentage of bookings that I'm always like, wait, maybe let's hold off on this until I get the next ones on the calendar, because you're just so great at it, and I can tell how much passion and love you have behind it too. And so it's why I feel so comfortable outsourcing it to you. But I want to bring it in, and I'll let you talk all about how folks can work with you at the end. And for those watching live, like all the housekeeping things here, if you have any questions while we're talking, feel free, drop them in the chat and we will answer them live. So as you know, a lot of the people in my group aren't at the point of in their business of being ready to outsource podcasts yet. So tonight I want to talk all about some of the how-tos for pitching yourself to podcasts. And so let's start with a couple of tips for finding podcasts to be on.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, I'd be happy to share with that. Well, there are quite a few tips, but first of all, what I would say is you have to know who your ideal client is, and you have to be clear about what your message is. This is going to make it so much easier to narrow down the podcast with your target audience, and because your topics are relevant to how they want to show up and serve for their own audience, it's more likely that you'll be accepted as a guest. Another reason to know your target audience would be so that you can do market research and just ask them directly. I mean, if they listen to podcasts and what podcasts they listen to. I also like to ask my clients to give me a wish list. I always say, just give me a wish list of what podcast would you love to be on? And that just kind of gives you an idea of what it is that you're looking for, why you want to be on a podcast, and who it is that you want to reach. And then you can, when you're searching for podcasts, maybe it's not going to be Oprah's podcast, but it could be a podcast that's very similar, maybe just not as popular, that you could pitch to. And also, another tip is when you're searching for podcasts on all the many platforms that there are, when you click on a podcast that you're interested in, at the bottom of the page, you will find, I know a lot of people, they don't look all the way at the bottom of the page, but if you go all the way to the bottom of the page, there'll be a whole list of other podcasts that are similar to that podcast that you're interested in. And there you go. There's another like 5 or 10 that you can just kind of check out and see if those are relevant to the message that you want to portray as well.
Mm-hmm. You gave us so many great tips. I mean, first, starting with who your ideal audience is. I talk about this all the time.
So important.
Yeah, because you're not a good fit for everyone. And it's where someone like Jenny or I can come in and help you understand who you are a good fit for. And then knowing what message it is that you want to share with that specific audience. And so I've got like a client right now who is a copywriter and has a book coming out. And so she could talk to the entrepreneurship audience. She could talk to the mom audience. She could talk to like book podcasts. Like there's the whole list of them. But knowing where your message is going to meet your audience and making that exact pitch is what's so important. And then I love how you talk about scrolling all the way to the bottom and really doing your research, because I think that is the undervalued skill. It's one thing to like go into, and I've promoted it in this group tons of times because I think there is a point in all of our like podcast pitching career side of it where you want to go to like the be a guest, find a guest podcast trope where, you know, there's hosts actively looking for guests, but I find that those aren't going to convert as well. And I know from my own experience, like they tend to be newer podcasts. And again, we all start somewhere. I think they're a great place to go and practice. And that can be a great place to look for your first 5 to 10 podcasts that you're going to be on. But once you've done enough of those and you're ready for that next step, going and finding, okay, maybe like Jenny knows it's on my dream list. There's this Mastering the Business of Yoga podcast that has thousands and thousands of downloads. Tons of yoga teachers listen to it. And we've been pitching me to the ones underneath that one, right? When you click on it and then you do the find the guest, it's all the rest of those. So, so many great tips. Let's talk a little bit more about how you know if you're a good fit. Like, how do you know if you're going to get accepted? And like getting those rejection letters can be kind of sucky. So.
They can be. And you know what? It's going to happen. And, you know, it is what it is. So you can't be afraid of that. You just have to like put yourself out there. I mean, not to like every single podcast. No, you don't want to just be like, oh, I just want to like get in front of everybody. No, you want to get in front of your target audience. But you do have to understand that you're not going to be accepted every single time because you know what? They don't know you. They don't know you 100%. They just know what your pitch is saying or
your website looks like.
Exactly. Or what you said on the form, the few questions they give you for the form. So it's just don't be discouraged because there's so many out there. So I would I would say to think about, does this podcast have an audience that you can relate to? Do you resonate with the host's brand and their message? I would also take a look at the guests they've previously had on to see if you're of similar niche. Also, you want to know if they have guests on their show. A lot of them don't. They don't. And it's hard to tell sometimes because they do both. Sometimes they're just doing their own thing and sometimes they do have interviews. So you do have to do your research and just make sure that they really do have guests. They do interview people and it's not just a one-person show. And then most importantly, I would check their ratings and their reviews. I find that most are wonderful. Most really do have great reviews, but it's a good place to gauge how popular the podcast is, and you want to know what people love about it. What do people love about that podcast? And will they love you if you're a guest on that podcast?
Totally. And I think like a good rule of thumb is like, okay, you're been doing a lot of like brand new podcasts and those usually don't have any reviews. Then start pitching to some that have maybe less than 20 reviews and then start to expand to maybe less than 100 and slowly build up that side of it. And I know that's not always like the most popular, like sexy thing to say. I'm sure you and I could like promise the moon and be like, yeah, we'll get you on Oprah's podcast tomorrow
Yeah.
and get tons of clients, but it's not the realistic side. And you don't want your first interview to be with Oprah anyways, as much as I love her.
No. I mean, you really want to just you want to get yourself out there, and you just want to practice, and you want to be consistent, and you want to have that momentum. And the more you're on, yeah, maybe they're not the most popular ones, but people will still see them and they'll still refer you and they'll still say, oh my gosh, I saw this person on this podcast. And it gets you out there.
It does. And media builds more media, right? The more podcasts you're on, the easier it's going to be to get on bigger ones in the future. So one more time, just so I know we've got some new people that are jumping in and watching, say hi, tell us where you're watching from. And if you have any questions for us, feel free to drop them down below. Jenny and I are co-hosting a workshop next Friday all about how to pitch yourself, and all of the details are up above, but the whole point is to get all of your pitch documents ready and make sure you know what to say when you pitch yourself. Make sure you know what to say when you're on the podcast to convert that audience into parts of your sales funnel so they come back and check out your website and ultimately become a client of yours. So with all of that said, I'd love to get some pitching tips from you, Jenny. So first, I know what comes up, and I've had tons of clients ask me about this, is it better to send the email versus filling out the contact form? What if they don't have a form?
Yeah.
What are some of these even like basic getting started tips?
Well, to be honest, it depends on the host. And you don't really know what the hosts prefer. To be honest, it's just it depends on the host. Nobody really knows what the hosts are looking for. So what I always say, always send a pitch if possible. If possible, if there's an email, always send a pitch. It's just so much more personal, and you can express why you want to be on their podcast. You can let them know that you've listened to an episode or two, hopefully, and you can go more in depth with how you can serve their audience. So I always say, if you can send an email and you can send a pitch, do that first. However, some do ask for you to fill out a form because they are either too busy to get to their emails or they have very specific qualifications. In that case, I would do both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that advice too. And I think it's very effective is like send, and you do such a beautiful job when you send the emails, finding like that point of connection and saying, you know, what it is that we like about the podcast, why we'll be a good fit for it, and all of that stuff that builds the connection and shows the host that you're invested in their success too. And I think the more avenues they see you in, the better. So thank you so much for sharing so many tips. I'd love to share with the audience, like, how did you even get started in all of this? It is such like a niche field.
It is.
Working particularly with soulpreneurs. Like I was so excited when our mutual friend connected us because I was like, oh, this is perfect. Jenny and I are so in alignment with what we're trying to get out there to the world. So how did you get started?
Well, I started as a virtual assistant. So I've been doing, virtual assistant work for some time, but I always knew who my clientele was going to be. My ideal client was always going to be a spiritual entrepreneur, and that's because I know their language. I'm a Reiki practitioner myself, So I know what it's like to be a healer in this busy world. And I know the significance of this work. I also know that it's not always in our comfort zone to do these kinds of things, get on podcasts, put ourselves out there, market ourselves, those kinds of things. We want to do the work, and I know that, and I get that. And so I just was thinking, well, what could I do to give back, because spiritual entrepreneurs have made a big difference in my journey. And as a virtual assistant, I realized what my strengths were. And funny enough, my strengths were pitching podcasts. I know that sounds really like practical and not like exciting, but
So exciting to me. Because
well,
Jenny knows this. I don't know if everyone in my group does, but I'm not the most detail oriented person. And as I've been growing my business, I know the importance of podcast pitching, but to keep track, I think you probably send 80 pitches at this point for like me and my clients every month. Like,
yeah.
I would never be able to keep track of that many. Like, it's just not how my brain works.
Yeah, and I get that. I totally do. And so and mine does. So, I figured, okay, this is my strength, and it may not be their strength. And so let me step in and see how I can help, and how I can make a difference, and give back, and use my own strengths to not only support them in growing their business, but to also support humanity in our growth. Because like I said before, I find this work super important, and I really think that it's time for them to be front and center, and podcasts are it right now. Podcasts are it, and I don't think it's just because of the pandemic. I really do think that this is just kind of here to stay. Um, so
Yeah,
so that's why I do what I do.
yay, I love it. Well, and I know you're taking new clients right now for done for your services. I got
Yeah.
tongue tied there. Can you share with us what that looks like and give folks all the details to find you? I've got your website up above.
Yeah. Well, I offer customized packages depending on your needs and your goals. But yeah, what I do is just pretty much what we're going to be teaching in the workshop. We're going to be teaching you how to do these things in the workshop. But if you don't have the bandwidth, or you just don't enjoy that part of your business, I am happy to take that off of your hands. And what that looks like is researching the podcast, drafting the emails, listening to the podcast, personalizing the emails, sending the thank yous, doing all of the scheduling and the communication. And
And saving me hours and hours and hours of my time.
yeah, and and I'm also going to be offering intensives where I just do some coaching and kind of show you how to do it on your own. And like I said, I do customized packages, so it just depends. It depends on what it is that you need and how I can help and serve you. And I would love to support you.
Yeah, and people can mostly find you on Instagram, right? If they want to follow you.
They can. I haven't been like totally on my Instagram because I've been so like working with my clients. So I've been really bad with being on Instagram. So, but I'm there. You can find me at soul_virtual services. You can also check me out on my website, which is soulvirtualservices.com. And there you can find my email and everything else. So.
Awesome. And once again, everyone is invited to join us next Friday when we have our podcast guesting workshop to show you how to send these pitch emails. We've been talking about how to find podcasts for your niche, for your message, so you can get more visible and call in your dream clients. and do all of the wonderful things in the world that I know you're all doing. So, once again, check it out, the link up above, and we'll be back. I'll be back on Thursday and doing a throat chakra Thursday because that's what's on deck in the group. So, thank you so much, Jenny, for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have been here, and thank you for having me.
And before I sign off, everyone, this was Jenny's first podcast interview, first live. All the crowd, you did such a great job. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm usually like in the background, behind the scenes. So this was definitely new for me. So thank you for having me, and for all of you for watching. And
yeah. And so we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.